Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be going over the river reach parameter, or device rather, as well as the reach scaling and how to set this up. And if you're like me, you probably had a really difficult time looking for reach scaling. So I did see a couple people in the forums posting about that. So first off, to find the scene, I didn't make the scene. Just click on the folder with the question marks and go to tutorial 4, build your own GCS. And this is exactly the same. So I'm going to first go over some of the parameters for this device so you can see how to do it. So this is it's very similar to a layout generator. If you ever used it, World Machine before, if you created rivers, it's very similar. To draw your own river, click on this button here, draw reach, and then you can draw however you want. The slower you move your mouse, the more points are added to your curve. And this curve looks terrible, and that's okay. I'm going to fix that in a second. And you can add points in between. Just click and drag from the curve, and you can add as many as you want, and you can even go really up close and start adding some more points, and you can be really granular with it, which is nice. So I'm going to draw. Let's see if it... Okay, good. I actually stumbled across a glitch where I was able to draw multiple rivers for some reason. So let's go back to the main view, and if you're wondering how I have two screens open in the Pro version, just go to Views, Open Additional Window. But for standard users, I'm sorry you guys, you won't have that feature available. Sucks, I know. I just recently upgraded. Cool, so now for the rescaling, there are a couple parameters as well. One thing you should note is that when you click on it, it says here, upgrade to the latest device functionality by right-clicking, select device version. Now these are very experimental. They're still in sort of development. Maybe it's because the version of World Machine that I have that gives me so many issues, so many bugs. So I typically, to change it, is you just right click device version and go to the first one, because by default, yeah, so by default, you're not going to be able to search for reach scaling, and I'll prove it right now. Reach, and then the only thing is, guess what? Reach character. That's actually the same exact as reach scaling. It's just they named it differently. And look, this even says that the device experimental functionality may change, and it has. So just device version, river preview, and then you'll get the exact same one. And this one has different parameters too. So, but the other one, the newest version, hasn't seemed to work for me. Now, with regards to some of these inputs, you can control the alignment of the river, which is just the profile, and I will show you right now. I'll disconnect these real quick. So to get a Perlin curve, just go to Devices, Curve, and then you can get your Perlin curve. And the other two is called sinusoidal curve, sinusoidal. I don't even know how to say that. So anyhow, yeah. So you just plug it into alignment and the Thawing curvature. Thawing is just think of the center point of the deepest part of the river. Essentially, that's what it is. And the alignment, I keep it the same. So. It's up to you how you want to do it. Experiment with it if you want. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how this works. So adding Octave Waves will make it noisier. I'm sure some of you may already know what Octave Waves is, just making it more complex. You can adjust the frequency as well of sort of like this main curve here. Right? You can adjust the frequency. You can adjust the persistence, which is the intensity of this curve, which is another type of like amplitude, sorry. And this one just kind of adds a little bit of like extra complexity to your existing spline. So it's like another frequency, like a sub frequency, if you will. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the bank width, right? This is the bank full width. Okay, yeah. So this is, like I said, sinusoidal curve. It just sounds so weird. So this, as you'd expect, will control the width of your river. So you can control the frequency. And let me decrease that a little bit, so you can see how you have some areas that are in the river that are thicker, others that are thinner, and this happens naturally in the world as well. You can control how often it happens. If it doesn't happen often, up to you. Then we have the Thawing Undulation, which is undulation. Think about Thawing. So Thawing is the center, the deepest part of the river, right? The deepness, and the undulation is, think about the edges of the leaves, how they form hills, like they're sloping up and down, and like a wave essentially. So that's what you're doing. You're adjusting the depth. That's all it is. I have to look that up, by the way. So you see how some areas turn light green, and you can. Here, let me show you a better example. Wait, hold on a second. Wait, is this the right one? Hold on. Okay, yeah, I didn't choose the right one. So I can adjust the amplitude, and you can see the intensity. There's more of a contrast between the deep areas and shallower areas. You can adjust the frequency of how this happens, of how often you see areas are like thinner or sorry, less deep than others. And of course you can add complications by adding another number. So I add additional 1. And now let's say I want, in addition to make it more test. So in addition to these areas, shows up twice that it's thin, but you know what? I kind of want a little bit more breakup here. You could have that. Just add a second one, and then you have full control over how many times it happens, and so you could just keep working with that as you will. So it's pretty cool. And the last two, which they don't have set in a tutorial, is the valley wall. So the banks, essentially. I'm just going to copy paste this into the wall, and it's pretty simple. You see now what that's doing. You're just controlling. You can add some asymmetry to your riverbed, so it's not linear. So you can adjust the frequency of how many times it happens, the amplitude, and as with the other, this is why I like sinusoidal. That's what you add. So if you add a second one, it adds even more complexity. So it right now it's a bit intense, so it's decreased a bit. Decrease the frequency. Maybe actually, maybe increase the frequency a little bit, and you could see how it's like starting to add more complication. I'll add one more just to really illustrate it. So you can create some really interesting effects. Okay, so you can see this is the right bank, and you could do the same thing with the left, or you can keep it, however you want. But this is, yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's it. And just connect your height field to this slot here, and you'll have masks for like the depth, the banks, the everything pretty much. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or leave a comment. All right, and take care.